Hey guys, I have here my new mountain bike, and in this video I want to explain to you how to install mud bikes on the front and the rear wheel. So I got this aftermarket set from Amazon. This is what that looks like when it comes in the mail, and there's a whole bunch of small parts that come with it. Then we have this long mud guard for the rear, and then the two shorter ones are for the front. And then even comes with a couple of tools in order to do this installation. And we start out with the rear, and that's where we use the longest mud guard. And then the second part we need is here this adjustable holder, and we're going to use two screws to screw those parts together. And you always have to think of that you're going to screw a metal screw into a piece of plastic, so you don't want to tighten it too much. Otherwise the plastic may just break. And then we're going to open up the other end here. This is where the clamp part, we're going to open that up, and inside of there we're going to find here two little spacers. And the question is, what are these used for? And when we take a look at the pipe where we want to attach the rear mudguard at, then if you put this around here, then you can easily see, like, if there's going to be a gap in this spacer, then this is too big, so then we don't need this. So in this case, the pipe is really big, so we don't need any of the spacers. And it's going to wrap around that clamp here. It takes some force to get this around, and then we're just going to tighten up that screw with the bolt, with the nut, all the way, so that it doesn't move anywhere. And you want to make sure that the mudguard is aligned with the wheel, so you want to make sure that this is nice and straight facing towards the back. And then we can still adjust the position of the mudguard relative to the wheel. So there's these two screws that you can loosen. You can loosen those by hand, and then you can adjust the position of the mudguard. So depending on how high or how low you want this mudguard to be, you will hold it with your hand, and then you're going to tighten those two screws again. And that's already it for the rear. So now we can start looking at the front. And there exist multiple options on how to install mudguards, and depending on your model of bike, you have to choose one or the other. First, we're going to look for a screw hole right here, so right above the wheel. So there's a small tiny hole right in the center, and something we should check now is if this hole goes all the way through, or if it just stops someplace inside of this metal bracket. So in this case, you can see this hole does not go all the way through. So these are two different types of mechanisms on how we install the mudguard. And then there's this third way that we can install this, and this is right underneath here. You see here, right from, if you look onto the bottom side of the fork, you see this hole here. And in here we can also, this is also a way on how to install the mudguards. And we're going to start out with that version first. So we have here these three different pieces of plastic, these round pieces, and we have to check which one of those is going to fit into that hole on the bottom of the fork. So first I'm going to try the biggest one, the biggest piece, and that doesn't fit there at all. So we cannot use that one. Then this is the tiniest one, and this is really too small. And then the middle one, that one still fits in there. So this is the one that we're going to select in order to install the mudguard on this bicycle. And this way of installing the mudguard takes quite a few parts. First we have here this metal bracket, and then on top of there goes this little flat plastic piece, and on that we can put this round piece that we just put into the fork. And from the bottom we go through here with the long bolt. And then we have another plastic cap that goes right on top, and this piece is used to kind of squeeze apart that bigger plastic piece. And right on top of everything goes the nut, so we're going to screw the nut onto that bolt that we put in earlier. And so now what happens when we start tightening that bolt, then this big plastic piece is going to be squeezed, and it's going to be spread out, and that makes sure that the bracket is held right underneath that fork. So at this point it would be time to screw on the remaining two mudguards onto this bracket. But because we want to explain to you the other two methods on how to install this bracket, we're not going to do this step quite yet. Now, in case you do have the hole that goes all the way through this metal bar, then we're going to pick the screw with the appropriate length to go all the way through here, and then we're just going to screw this on, tighten this with a nut, and then we would also continue with installing the plastic mud guards. But in the case of this bike, this hole is really short, so we're going to also pick the shortest screw that we have here, and with the help of that screw we're going to fasten the bracket on the bike. Regardless of which way of installation you choose, always make sure to have the correct orientation of that bracket. You can see that one end of the bracket is kind of tilted down much further than the other one. So the one that is tilted down, that's supposed to face towards the back end of the bike, and the one that's almost straight or horizontal, that one is supposed to face the front of the bike. Okay, so now we are already at the last step, and that would be to really attach the mud guards, two pieces of the mud guards, to the bracket. And you will notice that one of the mud guards is really short, and that one goes to the front. And then the mud guard that is a little bit longer, that's going to go towards the back end of the bike. So that's the correct orientation, and you're going to tighten all those with the screws, and then we are already done. Okay, so this is what this is supposed to look like. And that's already it for this video. I hope you found the information helpful, and if you have any more questions or comments, then please leave a message below.